Hi, third graders. Today we're going to be continuing our lesson 1, all about culture, in our social studies text. And today we're going to be looking at the next section, which is called Native Americans, and that's on page 64. So go ahead and turn your workbooks to page 64. One way to learn about different cultures is to study the events of the past. This study is called history. Let's start by learning about the first people who lived in North America, the Native Americans. They lived in the areas that are now Canada, the United States, Mexico, and the islands of the Caribbean. Native Americans had different ways of life depending on their environment. Long ago, people had to use the land, animals, and water around them to help them live. Some Native Americans lived in the icy lands of Alaska and northern Canada. They fished through the ice for food. They wore clothes made from animal skins to keep warm. Sometimes they even built structures out of snow. Native Americans who lived along the coasts often lived in villages. They used the wood from trees to build homes. They fished in the ocean for food. Some used the land around them for agriculture, or growing crops and raising animals. Others hunted for food in the forests. Some Native Americans who lived on the plains were hunters. They were often on the move because they followed the animals they were hunting. Some of their homes looked like tents and were made out of animal skins. The frames of their homes could be easily moved. Native Americans in Florida and the Caribbean. Native Americans also lived in the area that is now Florida and the Caribbean. They fished in the streams, rivers, lakes, and oceans near their homes. They also ate animals and plants that lived near their homes. Like other Native Americans, they built homes and created tools from things they found in the environment. Homes were built out of trees and other plants. Tools and weapons were made from stone and wood. The pictures on this page show artifacts from Native Americans. An artifact is something that was made or used by people in the past. The clay pot held water. The stone arrowhead was a tool used to cut food. Okay, so let's look at this little text here. It says write a caption for each of the photographs on these pages. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at all of the photographs, the 2 on this page and the 3 on this page, and you're going to look in the text and see if you can find a good caption. So I see that in this text it says the clay pot held water. So a good label for this one would be clay pot. The text also says the stone arrowhead was a tool used to cut food. So I know this is a stone arrowhead. Go ahead and create your own captions for these 3 photographs here. When you're done with that, go ahead and look at this box here. These 2 questions we want you to fill out. We want you to write them in complete sentences. And here you're going to be drawing a picture. So question 1 says, explain how the environment affected Native American life. In the text, we saw so many ways that the Native Americans used the environment to live, the way the environment affected their lives. So find at least 1 or 2, and then you're going to restate the question, your answer, and write in a complete sentence. The environment affected Native American life by blank, and then complete that sentence. And then down here, it says, imagine someone was studying your culture 500 years from now. So in 500 years, if they looked back and studied 2021, what artifacts would they find? Think about some of the things you use in your house. And what do you think they would find if they look back at our lives now, today, in 2021? So you're going to draw at least 2 artifacts they would find. Draw a nice picture and then give it a caption so that we know what your drawing is. And you're going to go ahead and upload this page 65, to the assignment so that we can see what you've written and what you've drawn. So you can pause the video and go ahead and do that now. And now we're going to continue on to the next section, which is called European Settlers. As time went on, Europeans began exploring North America and the Caribbean. Soon, immigrants began moving to these areas from other countries. One country was Spain. The Spanish were the first Europeans to explore North America and the Caribbean. The Dominican Republic became a Spanish colony after Christopher Columbus landed there in 1492. The Spanish also settled in the United States, mainly exploring the Southeast, the Southwest, and Mexico. Signs of Spanish and Mexican influences are seen across the Southwest. For example, Spanish styles are still seen in many buildings in the region. And if we look, that is a photograph of some of the Spanish style buildings that we might see in the Southwest. England. English explorers settled along the mid-Atlantic coast north into Canada. One of their first colonies, Jamestown, Virginia, was built along the banks of the James River. Settlers used the river water for drinking, bathing, and cooking. They also learned from Native Americans how to grow and harvest crops. The English brought many things with them to the United States, including their language. That's one reason many Americans speak English today. France. The French settled in 2 main areas of North America. The first was in Canada, along the St. Lawrence River, and in parts of Newfoundland. The other was along the Gulf of Mexico. Many French settlers stayed in the north, but some moved to what is now New Orleans, Louisiana. Here, their lives and customs mixed with those of Native Americans and Africans who also lived in the area. Today, some people speak French Creole, which has French, Native American, Spanish, and West African roots. So I want you to go back into the text and I want you to underline examples of Spanish, English, and French influences on the culture of the United States. So if you remember, we read about in Spain, or when the Spanish came, signs of Spanish and Mexican influences are still seen across the Southwest. We see Spanish styles in many buildings in the region. So they have affected our architecture, our buildings. So look in the section for England and look in the section for France and see if you can find the ways that the English and the French have influenced our culture here in the United States. Moving west. Most Europeans settled along the East Coast and in the Midwest. Over time, more people began to travel farther west across North America. This presented a challenge. What forms of transportation or ways of getting from one place to another did people use? Native Americans often traveled by foot to get to new locations. European explorers traveled to North America by boat. In the 1800s, many people used horses or wagons to get to their new homes. In the late 1800s, trains and automobiles were used. Today, many people travel by car or bus. Okay, so we have 2 activities here. The first one is a map of the United States, Mexico, and the Caribbean. And it says, color in the map to show where European immigrants settled in North America and the Caribbean. And so we see the map key. We're going to color red for English, green for Spanish, blue for French. Okay, and so if you look back in the text, I underlined the areas with the matching color. So they want us to color the Spanish section green, and the English section red, and the French section blue. And so look back in your text, find the areas where it says that they moved, and then go ahead and color your map to match, okay? And then down here, it says, complete the chart to show what type of transportation you would use today to travel from Florida to the Caribbean. So we are here. If we wanted to travel to the Caribbean, how would we get there? So you're gonna fill in the year, 2021, and then what type of transportation could we use to get there?